All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're looking at an incredible story, one that lives right where deep personal history and, believe it or not, tech innovation collide. It's about how a wound, a real sense of being disconnected, actually became the rocket fuel for a platform that's all about bringing people back to their roots.
You know, this whole thing, it's so much bigger than just one person. It's not about a founder or a startup in the usual sense. It's really a story that stretches across generations, a journey of separation, and this powerful, undeniable drive to close that distance. This right here, this is the heart of everything we're about to talk about.
So let's start where it all began, with what the source material calls the wound. You know, every great innovation is there to solve a problem. And for the guy behind SankofaVR, that problem wasn't something he found in market research. It started as this deep, profound sense of disconnection in his own life.
Just look at this timeline. It really maps out the dislocation. At just 4 years old, King Enon is separated from his mother in Ghana. At 12, he moves to the US to live with a father he barely knows. And then, it's another 14 years before he sees his mother again. 14 years. That's an entire childhood, an entire adolescence, spent an ocean away from where he started.
So you can imagine what that does to a person, right? It creates this kind of internal tug of war. On one side, you have this ancestral pull, the very soul of Ghana, literally in his DNA. And on the other, you've got the American system, trying to find your way in a culture that, can't even get your name right. It's described as identity fragmentation, and it's a feeling that so many people in the diaspora know firsthand. And then comes the big moment, the reunion. After 14 years apart, you'd think it would be this huge, dramatic, movie-like scene, right? But it wasn't. The source describes him walking in, seeing his mother sitting at the kitchen table, just completely still. She didn't get up. She didn't cry. There was just this heavy, profound silence. And that quiet moment, that silence, taught him something absolutely critical. It was a lesson that would shape everything he did from that point on. Some of the deepest wounds, the most painful disconnections, they don't scream, they whisper. And the real work is learning how to hear that whisper. So, here's the pivot. This is the turning point in the story. Because that pain, that wound, it wasn't just something to carry around like a heavy weight. It was about to become a catalyst. This is where the pain starts to find its purpose. He talks about feeling this call to action, almost like a whisper from his ancestors. And this voice completely reframed his life. All that separation, all that struggle, suddenly it wasn't a tragedy. It was training. He was being shaped to be a pattern breaker, a bridge builder, the voice for those who felt that same whisper. And this is the transformation right here. SankofaVR didn't come from a business plan or a market analysis spreadsheet. The source is very clear on this. It calls it a spiritual assignment. The mission wasn't just to build a company, it was to heal the very wound he'd carried his whole life, but to do it for everyone. To do it on a massive scale. Okay, so we've got the why, we have the spiritual assignment. Now let's dig into the what. I mean, how do you actually build a bridge to reconnect millions of people to their heritage? This is where the tech enters the picture. And the answer is SankofaVR. At its most basic level, yes, it's a virtual reality platform, but its mission is way bigger than just gaming. It uses this amazing immersive tech to literally transport you, to put you right in the middle of significant historical events, cultural ceremonies, and landmarks all across Africa. It makes history feel alive, touchable, emotional. Now, the mission might be spiritual, but it's tapping into a very real and very widespread hunger for connection. And guess what? That hunger is a massive market. The total addressable market, that's the whole pie for VR education and cultural tourism, is a staggering $9 billion. Then you narrow that down to the part they can actually serve, and it's still $1.8 billion. And their starting point, their initial target market, a very solid $180 million. This shows that the desire for reconnection, it's not just a feeling,
It's a powerful economic force, and their business plan shows they mean business. They're projecting 500,000 in year 1, doubling to 1 million in year 2, and hitting 2 million by year 3. This isn't just a passion project. It's a serious, scalable company designed to make a huge impact. So how do they stand out in a crowded tech space? Well, they've got the cultural authenticity. They've got the cutting-edge tech. But their real secret weapon, the thing that sets them apart, it's that emotional engagement. That's the key. That's the one thing no competitor can just go out and copy.
And where does that emotional power come from? It comes directly from the founder's life. He didn't just read a book about the problem of disconnection. He is the case study. He lived it. And that lived experience, that wound, has become the company's single greatest asset. It lets them build things that connect with people on a deeply, truly human level. Okay, this brings us to the final part, and honestly, maybe the most important takeaway from all of this. Because the story of SankofaVR isn't just about King Anand. It's a lesson for every single one of us who might think our own story, our own wounds, are somehow holding us back. So, let's get personal for a second. We all have that voice, right? That little voice in the back of your head that says, not yet. It's not perfect. I'm not ready. I should wait. What is really going on with that voice? Let's just call it what it is. That voice, it isn't wisdom. It isn't caution. It's fear. It's fear putting on a fancy costume called perfectionism to keep you safe, to keep you small, to keep you from ever taking that leap. But here is a secret that fear just doesn't understand. The people you're meant to connect with, your audience, they're not looking for a flawless, polished product. They're looking for permission. Permission to be real, permission to be vulnerable, permission to own their own stories. And you know how they get it? They get it by watching you do it first. So we're going to end by flipping that whole internal script on its head. Stop asking, why should I do this despite my story, despite my scars? Instead, ask yourself this. Why is this moment the perfect, divine opening because of my story? Your unique journey, your wounds, your imperfections, they aren't your obstacles. They are your advantage. They are your fuel.